You all right there, folks? It's Tommy here. This is NUFC 360. We are here in Shack in Newcastle. Got a lovely view of the stadium, and we're joined by Adam from Wor Flags. Adam, nice to meet you there,
Nice
mate.
to meet you.
Right, so we've got obviously we could go through the history and all that, but tell us how you personally got involved with Wor Flags.
So originally, when it was Gallagher Flags, I did
Yeah,
offer to help out, but my seat wasn't in the Gallagher at that stage, so I wasn't able to help. But then, as soon as Wor Flags came back after the takeover went through, just offered on social media to help, and then have kind of been here since then.
yeah. So when I started, when Wor Flags came about, I sort of it gives me that sort of 80s, 70s vibes of football when you used to look at everyone bringing banners. Was that sort of the intentions to bring that in, or?
I think just when the group started off, it was when we were in the championship, and it was the first
Yeah,
season. Obviously, Rafa stayed on, and it was just the idea behind it was just to bring something positive and colourful into a scenario that wasn't exactly ideal for any Newcastle fan, and just try and
yeah.
make sure that there was something special about St James's, even in the championship.
Yeah, for me, like, because I never went to a lot of matches when I was a bairn. Mine was when my dad taking us to Maiden Castle, watching training as the entertainers, and like obviously for the new generation Newcastle fans, they look at Wor Flags and think, "Wow, they're bringing in that sort of atmosphere, making it a fortress again." You know, and I just want to ask, is that was your intentions, like sort of give the newer versions of Newcastle fans, the younger ones, those memories that they can cherish till obviously when they get older.
To be honest, it's probably not like the primary thought behind it. Obviously, it's a great
Yeah,
thing that comes with it, but the main thing is just to give anything extra to the players on the pitch. Like the main
yeah,
thing is if we can, like for instance, Anthony Gordon against Man City, if he can look out,
yeah,
see that display, see that the supporters, well, see exactly what the supporters think of him, and then go and turn out the display. He was brilliant that day,
yeah,
and yeah, just generally if we can give the players any extra, like
yeah,
even if it's 1% or something, to
yeah, yeah,
show that the crowd are behind them.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the main purpose of Wor Flags. But obviously, we love the fact that
Yeah,
like it's a lot of current kids like walk up to the stadium, look
yeah,
forward to. But yeah, definitely.
yeah. And obviously, you mentioned obviously players having a reaction to it and having that 1%, which is obviously a psychological factor. Obviously, Maxi sort of giving praise, Amanda Staveley, even Becky Langley giving lots of praise for all of you as a Wor Flags, not just yourself. Does that just give you the motivation again? Wow, we've got somebody here. Let's continue on. Let's just try and get behind these, give 110%, make St James's Park a fortress. And also, I think, do you think like might convince like maybe that players that have like trepidation and want to stay in Newcastle, convince them like, we love you, please stay with us? Is that the sort of
Um,
um,
so like anything to make good players and committed players feel more at home and happy
yeah,
to be here, and or to anyone looking at the club, seeing it from the outside. If we can do anything to help with that, that's of course
yeah,
something that we'll love to be a byproduct of what we do. But it's not like it's probably not something that's always necessarily like the purpose behind it. Like we're not going out and saying, "Oh, if we do this display,"
yeah,
like for instance, the PSG display, it wasn't. Oh,
yeah,
great! Kylian Mbappe is here today. Let's try and impress him.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
no. We want to do what we can to try and raise the atmosphere and to get behind the players. And
yeah.
obviously, that night was the perfect example of what we're here to do, what we want to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did like that sort of banner at St James. It's Paris Saint Germain. Um, you personally, what would be your favourite banner that you've done with Wor Flags?
Um, it's probably quite difficult. It's a difficult one. That it's the surfer when we came back against PSG with the Magpie holding the Champions League ball with
Yeah,
Newcastle
yeah,
United in. I think that's pretty difficult to beat. But if anything, just for the reaction, I loved last season when we did the Brazil one for Bruno and Joe Linton.
yeah. That was
It's like when we were thinking like of it, like with something we were excited for, and especially with the colours of the Brazilian flag, we were aware that like visually
yeah,
it would stand out. 'Cause
yeah,
obviously, black and white, like we love it, it's our colours,
yeah,
but sometimes visually it's not the easiest thing to get
yeah,
across. So anytime there's a bit of colour, but no, just the reaction to that, especially from well Bruno Gilliton and specifically in Brazil,
yeah,
was like overwhelming almost. Like it wasn't quite what we
yeah,
expected that it would that would take off that much. But
Yeah.
so those are probably the two that stand out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't necessarily be a banner, but the first all stadium display that we did, the one against Arsenal that had the blue star in the leaves as United, and then the
Yeah.
team photo in the Gallagher.
Yeah.
That was blood, sweat, and tears, and about 4 or 5 days of time for 20, 30 individuals going into volunteer their time. So that was certainly something as well from the like almost like the one where you look at it and go, we did that.
Yeah.
So it's good to see when
The sense of pride, yeah.
and like when you see the supporters get fully behind it and get involved, like that's like, because without the supporters getting involved, we wouldn't be anything. If we put the flags out but people just left them on the seat or put them on the floor,
Yeah.
then like there wouldn't be anything to show for us. No, it's all down to the supporters getting involved as well.
Yeah, and obviously we're going about the supporters getting involved. Obviously, this stuff doesn't run for free. We need donations and that, and obviously that's the most important thing. And obviously, I was looking on the website, obviously selling some of the replicas, like I think the one with the Champions League. I think it was going for about £10 if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure the exact, but it's something in that ballpark.
Yeah, I think like obviously it comes with donations. Obviously, anyone who's watching this Wor Flags, please donate because it adds to the atmosphere. It spices us up a bit, and obviously this thing doesn't grow on trees after all. Obviously, you were going on about the last banner, the Arsenal one, taking 4 to 5 days. Would you say that was the most difficult or the most challenging? Would you say?
It probably wasn't the most. It probably wasn't the most challenging. Most challenging was, and again, it's another one that we absolutely loved, was the one against Leicester when we confirmed Champions League qualification.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because we had the old NUFC crest in the leases.
Yeah.
There's a lot of curved edges to that, and it's not necessarily so easy to do as a block. So it took a long time to get that, and then the shield in the Gallagher, if the black and white stripes weren't really stripes, they were swirls sort of thing. So that was time-wise, that was probably the most difficult one, just to make sure that we got it right, because it wasn't just a block of colour. It was there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and obviously it's not just football that you've just branched into. You've obviously branched into the women's game. Obviously we're seeing the banners of Becky Langley. We've looked at the Falcons, the rugby team, and
basketball.
Sorry,
basketball.
Yeah, I'm not a big basketball fan, but I saw it on social media, and obviously it's quite tight knit as well. The court, I don't know, is that what you call it, the court? I'm not a big basketball fan, folks. So I do
basketball court,
yeah. Was it anyone's idea just to think, you know what, let's just branch out of football, let's branch into basketball and rugby, or was it just instinctive? Or
I certainly wouldn't say it was an idea of what, it certainly wasn't an idea anything we want to target. It was just want to show our support for the city of Newcastle as a whole, as much as primarily we are for Newcastle United, and that's what the bulk of our donations are for. And you can see on our website it is split between there are different pots you can put it into. So you can put it into the women's team, men's team, basketball, etc. So it's not necessarily something that we did consciously to target, but now it's just support for different teams. In case of Sam Fender, Andrew Cushion, musicians, just different members of our local community.
Yeah, and obviously, there's some great banners over the years. For you, I'm not sure if I asked this question before, but what was your personal favourite? In your opinion, not just everyone else's in general.
I think it is still the favourite one individually is the PSG surfer. But overall for whole displays, there's the Arsenal, Leicester, and Brazil one that comes to mind.
Because my personal favourite was when Wor Flags went away and said, "Nah, we're not doing it until Ashley's gone." Mine was the one against Tottenham. This is a mighty town.
The Big River.
The Big River reference, because I thought it's the start of something new. Because as Newcastle fans, we have been watching the matches, and we sort of thought, why are we watching this? Why are we giving up hope? We never. That's the thing. Obviously, when Wor Flags came about 2016, and we're under Rafa, it gave us a little bit of hope, a little bit of belief. Then when you came back, it was obviously lockdown didn't help. But when they came back, you thought, when Wor Flags came back, it was wow, we've got some belief again. It is not just a takeover and stuff. I think I was talking about this with my mum, and I was sort of just you know, when you have two bad children, you clatter each other's heads like, oh, get yourselves together. And I think Wor Flags did that, like, and it didn't need a takeout. Do you have that sort of like initiative or anything like that, or?
I think it's just this, like, you had obviously a very, very loyal supporter base. Like, you've seen for the fact of we haven't won anything for as long as we have, and
Yeah.
still there's people show up every week. I don't think it was so much the needing to like pull people together, so much as just you give someone something to believe in, and people naturally believed as soon as the takeover went through, and with that natural change in feeling, because that's something that we try and do as a group. We don't try and force like a particular narrative. Like, what we try and do is just try and like take the mood of the moment, and at that moment of as soon as the takeover went through, it was one of like hope finally and optimism, and it's like as well to use a local artist in like Jimmy Nail,
Jimmy Nail,
like singing about Newcastle, really in that song. It was just perfect. How we fit everything together. So yeah.
And obviously, we've got Chelsea next, St James's Park in the League Cup, and then we've got Arsenal. And we were talking about this before. Obviously, Chelsea, get the scarves out, black and white scarves. Arsenal, obviously, it's near Remembrance Day. Do you want to give a little bit of like insight what we're going to expect or anything, or?
So like for the Chelsea game, it's kind of become a thing that the home cup games at St James's, we encourage everyone to bring their scarves, twirl them, hold them, and just like add a bit of colour that way. So I would encourage everyone watching today, if you are at the Chelsea game, please bring your scarves and make one hell of an atmosphere, because it's an incredibly important game in our season. And it's a great opportunity to reach a quarter final with a home game at St James's. And then Arsenal, so obviously it's been our closest home game to Remembrance Sunday. It's just something we wanted to mark with a small display. It's not something that we feel like we need. It's something that needs to be like showy. It's not like we don't consider like it a competition to like do the best remembrance display. We just want to do something fitting and for the people of our region who've served, and to remember everyone over the years who have given their lives and their time to defend us.
So it's going to be a special thing, especially not just for Newcastle and Arsenal fans, but just football fans, and most people in the UK in general. And obviously, we're going on about flags. And obviously, I've been inside the stadium. They're all left. Well, most of them are left in there. And you've got the little kids raising them up in their first game, the adults waving them up, maybe after a few drinks. But you've seen the owners wave the flags around, getting really into it. Does that like have a big sort of psychological thing as well? Was it the intention, or was it like, all right, the part of it, let's do this together sort of thing?
I don't know if it was the intention, but it's great to see whenever anyone gets involved, and so it's nice to see that anyone feels like they want to be a part of it and to get involved, and so whether it be ownership, normal fans, any players, anyone to get involved is just great, and it's what we're after. Just to whenever you show up to the stadium, if there's a flag on your seat, please wave it. If you see one of the bigger ones that we'll have at the front of the stands, as long as it's not one of the ones for a display, it's normally pretty obvious. But I would encourage anyone who's going to the stadium, if you see it, it's not something you have to sign up to do. Just pick a flag up and wave it.
Yeah, and it's obviously St James's Park. It's been done millions of times. I went to the match at the Stadium of Light. Started having some there, but to do it at the big one, Wembley Stadium, all black and white. First time in Euros. And I was looking through the comments on social media, like on YouTube, saying, even like Villa fans, and saying, "Oh, this is brilliant." So doing it at the big one, the home of football, Wembley Stadium, is that like just magical to you personally, or?
It was definitely a pretty special feeling on that day. Beforehand, there was a few of us down right at the front with the bigger flags waving, and I was right next to the goalpost pitch side before cup final, and it was at that point where I think all the nerves started to come in and go, oh yeah, like this is a cup final, this is massive. Obviously, like there's a lot of waiting around in the bits before, but it's the moment when you actually get in, see that. But no, we're just really pleased with how it looked. It looked at Wembley that day. Hopefully be back there. Hopefully be back there soon. Hopefully be back there in, is it March or February this year? I'm not sure which one it is.
We'll hope so, because I've been dying to win a trophy I've been a Newcastle fan since I was 3. I'm 31. I still got me hair. And obviously going on to Wembley, obviously the one thing I want to ask, obviously I was thinking about this on my way down. Obviously, we've got the the World Cup in a couple of years' time. Would you consider doing anything for England, or do you think it's just a Newcastle thing?
So when England played here in the for the friendlies before the Euros this year, we did do a couple of bits before that. So for the women's game on the Friday, there was a St George's cross in the stand, and we had that as well for the men's game as well, with the lyrics from one of the one of the tournament songs. So I know that was then, but it could be again. It's obviously from Three Lions, with the England crest and the colours from one of the old shirts. So I guess it's something that we did do to try and show support, and that seems to have gone down well with England fans who aren't necessarily Newcastle fans as well. So I think it just depends. Obviously, there's not we're probably not going to do anything if it's Slovakia, Slovenia, or just two teams who
not friendlies or anything.
So just be a sort of.
If there was a match at St James's, then you'd think about it.
I think we'd probably have to be England, because that's who.
I mean, you couldn't do it if it was like France, Germany. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. I think we'd get a lot of comments about that and a lot of memes and that.
Yeah, it's like try and keep it relevant to us and that as well. And obviously, knowing that not one penny of fans' money that went towards Newcastle displays went towards that England one either. That was all
just a separate thing.
That was all paid for completely separately. So we would never use Newcastle fans' money for Newcastle displays for an England, or
it'd just be done in a separate pot, basically.
So
how can people donate to Wor Flags? What can people do?
So on our website, there's a section for donations. We've got a shop on there. As we teased yesterday, Anthony Gordon gave us a signed shirt for doing the display for him. So that's going to be, by the time this comes out, it might be the raffle might be open then. But you can buy your tickets on our website for that. There'll be a few more things coming up, hopefully towards Christmas, that people can enter and have a chance to win something. But obviously we appreciate any donations we get. So I feel like our dream as a group would be if every supporter who had a season ticket or went to the game donated £1 a month. That would be our dream scenario. We don't want people to part with a vast amount of cash. Just
not gone extravagant, put £100 in the pot or anything.
But obviously, whatever anyone feels that they can afford, we hugely appreciate, and we try and get the maximum value for that as possible. So, for instance, the flags we used at Wembley, they tend to be single-use things. We've used them 7 or 8 times, and we've still got them to use again. We want to stretch our supporters' money as far as possible, and make sure that there's not one wasted penny.
Now, and obviously, with Wor Flags, great relationship with obviously the club, great relationship with the fans, and even football fans that are not even Newcastle fans. What do you in your opinion? What do you think the future holds for Wor Flags? Is it just continue on as what you're doing, or do you have bigger plans or anything like that, or it's just to keep on its level ground, if one could say that?
I don't know if it's something that we actively think about. There's things we would like to do, but largely it's just to just keep going and keep trying to reflect the mood of the fan base, keep getting behind the team, to keep making St James's something that people walk to excited about what they're going to see beforehand, and then what they see beforehand makes them hopefully feel a little bit more rowdy for the 90 minutes on the pitch, and they get behind the team.
Well, it's fair to say, since you've come back, you've made it a fortress. You've made it an absolute fortress, and I can't say thank you for because it sort of gives me a lot of the new memories that I have, from when I was a child, growing up watching Newcastle, watching them train. like for me as an adult, this sort of brings it to a whole different level. And I think a lot of Newcastle fans would just say thank you from the bottom of our hearts, to sort of just say thanks for giving us this like sort of atmosphere, make it a fortress again. What Newcastle United's really about.
No, no.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Honestly,
Yeah.
really appreciate that. And like I said before, we wouldn't be the group we are without the involvement of supporters.
Yeah.
Whether that be being prepared to have a surfer flag dragged over their heads,
Yeah.
or getting involved and waving the flags that are on the seats, or anyone who donates as well.
Yeah.
It's like we are what we are because of the amazing supporters that we have, and hopefully just continue that going forward.
Yeah, well, I hope so as well. It's nice to talk to you, Adam.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Cheers.
so there you go, folks.